All right, Daniel, you ready? I got my coffee here. I got my coffee.
Yeah, no, thanks, guys.
And I just want to set it up. He's with PlexTrac. It's not just pen test reporting. I think I look at it from my perspective, Daniel, and I'm like, oh, pen test reporting. But I think it's a lot of kind of plan of actions and milestones and tracking of vulnerabilities and all those different things. So what possessed you personally to take the one worst thing out of everything that we do in security and say, hey, I'm going to start a company around that?
Yeah, well, so I lived this on both sides of the fence, right? So I was a pen tester and hated writing reports. Then as a blue teamer and actually building out as a security director, building a blue team, wanting a way to aggregate this data and truly wanting to focus on the actual attack lifecycle of like, these are the most sensitive things in security that we need to be focused on, and how do I report metrics on these over time? Just wanted to start building something to help with that whole process of making it easier to write reports, making it easier to collaborate during the engagement, as well as be able to take those results and immediately start tracking them to remediation. So just kind of eliminating all that waste in that whole workflow, and then you have real-time metrics from like a director's perspective to see like trends and things like that. So yeah, just wanted to help solve some of these pains where it's like I didn't see anybody else doing a good job of, or at least, you know, from my perspective of doing as good a job as what I wanted. So I guess I kind of took the crazy pill and dove in.
So I've got a couple of like pet peeves that a lot of these tools don't have, and I'm going to ask you. I'm going to go through the John pet peeve list really quickly if you're ready. Okay, you ready?
Ready.
Okay, I absolutely freaking hate tools that I can't take screenshots and drop it right in. Marcello knows this, right? I hate it if it's like I got to take a screenshot, save it as a file, and then I got to upload it. Can you do screenshots directly into PlexTrac?
Yeah, absolutely. Am I able to share? Because I could show that off.
Yeah, we could give you a share.
I don't know how to do that.
That's okay. We need. Hold on, I might be able to do it. Let me try it. And
I did it.
You should be. There you go. Yay.
Okay. Let's see which one I'm actually going to. Okay, share my main screen. Fantastic. So you guys can see this, right?
Yep. Font's a little small, but yes, we can see it.
Okay. Well, I'm on a bigger monitor. So this is kind of like a skeleton of a report in PlexTrac where you've got the different findings, right? And like, you know, one thing that's cool is we can support videos and screenshots in the report, but anywhere we have a narrative, you know, I stole this from the OffSec pen test report template there, you know, just to kind of show you. So if you come in here, and I'm just going to do a screenshot of your face here, John. Don't take offense. So I just did a copy there on a screenshot, and then I just pasted that straight in, and there you go. So I didn't have to save that to a file or anything like that. So that's one nice thing about PlexTrac, you know, that some of those small pain points that save a bazillion amount of time, right?
Okay. The other question that I have is there's no way in hell ever, under any circumstances, that BHIS could ever throw all of its pen test data out into a cloud service. Do you all have like the capability for running it and hosting it locally, which I know a lot of funding companies are like, no, it's got to be cloud. It's got to be cloud before I give you money. So do you have the ability for like on-prem hosting solutions?
Yeah, that was one of, I mean, totally understand, and that was one of the primary missions that I set out when I first started, is like, you know, need to be sensitive to wherever this is going to be hosted. So yeah, you can host on-prem, and it all deploys in Docker, so it sets up really nicely. I know you're going to have a Docker training here shortly, so you know, it deploys in Docker containers. Can completely stay isolated. We're very committed about not, you know, having any connectivity out and in, you know, from that system.
Okay. Now, another question that I wanted to get into, and this is something that we've been talking a lot at Black Hills Information Security. When Movix came on, he brought in kind of this idea of what we need to be doing is not just tracking it for a specific customer for metrics, but we would like to see broader trends and analysis of metrics and tracking that across all of our different customers. And I think that would apply for individual organizations as well. So what types of metrics, and there it is. Okay, so can you go through like the analytics and the tracking and the metrics that you provide there as well?
Yeah, so we have a series of metrics, and we're continuing to produce more. I mean, this is like the main focus right now. You know, we've got the core product for reporting and tracking, and so really what you want to be able to do is track that over time for like benchmarks against like how often are things getting reported, how often are they getting closed, and then how quickly, what is our trend in terms of how quickly we're closing out, critical vulnerabilities or high vulnerabilities, and eventually be able to set benchmarks on those so you can actually see. So we have a trending analysis that shows like here's how often things are getting opened and closed and then closed out, and so you can compare against different customers, right? So this can serve as a client portal. So like, your customers could log in, they only have access to what you give them access to, but you could compare against, a few different customers just to start seeing, those trends. You can also, in our findings analytics pages here, got a lot of demo data here in the app, but you can start to say like, okay, I want to see all that information just for the Wild West Hackin Fest client. And so you can start to compare and contrast, like, which reports and which customers are the biggest, risks, and one other nice thing that I'll also mention is you can also do it by like a client tag. So like, let's say you have all your clients tagged as healthcare clients that are healthcare clients, you can select that tag, and maybe we've got it in the demo app here too, but something like this, where now you see all the clients tagged with healthcare, and you can start to compare and contrast how they're doing, right?
So I've got to ask, what are you using on the backend database for this?
The backend database is a couch-based database, right? So NoSQL built for data analytics, right? So
yeah, very cool. So the other thing that I absolutely abhorred with a lot of these tools is you're kind of stuck with their template. Like, you can't really customize the template and make it work with your company. So is there any way that you can customize the template or upload a template, anything like that?
yeah, absolutely. So you'll see here, like that report that I had up the other screen, we have a default template, but this is all a custom template that we built for ourselves just as the default export. So we can take any Word template that you have, put it into the PlexTrac. It uses the Jinja 2 language, Python library. So, you can basically templatize everything out. So it's kind of a set once and forget it, and export into your template. So this is all variable replacement based data, right?
Okay.
So you see, this was before I took your screenshot. So, but one nice thing is it formats the screenshots to the width of the page, so you don't have to spend gobs amount of time trying to format your screenshots. I don't know if that's a pain for anybody else, but it was always for me.
Yeah. So another question I had, we talked about screenshots. Are there any other artifacts that you can associate? Because one of the things that we like to do is if we do a Nessus scan, we want to make sure that that report is available to the customer. If you run any of the tool output, you want to make sure that that artifact can be captured. What types of artifacts can be associated with that report and maybe exported from that report as well?
Yeah, so we have this within a specific engagement, right? We have this artifact section where you basically, it's just basically like a free form upload. So pretty much, I mean, if you wanted to have the additional media there as well, Nessus scans, like you mentioned Scythe, we do integrate with Scythe. And so, we really love the MITRE attack matrix, and the whole concept of purple teaming to us is having that collaborative nature and being able to continuously assess against those types of controls. So you could put, any kind of artifact that you want to just store as an artifact of that engagement, you can keep it here. We do parse those scan results as well. So if you wanted to, like, in fact, this report actually shows, hey, this was, this was like an SS scan result. Then you can add your additional stuff. You can get the scan results here as well. So there's kind of a, it's kind of multifold of where you want to put the information.
Okay, very, very, very cool. So you can upload and you can incorporate that. That's great. Now, if I'm an executive, like I said, I apologize. I look at it from a pen test company's perspective. But if I was a CISO, what would be some of the dashboards or things from the analytics side that you would recommend that, like, your CISO analyze and be watching for?
Yeah, I really think that this trending analysis is really important from the CISO perspective. This starts to kind of get you the idea of like how are we progressing over time, right? I mean, a snapshot is okay. You can get that snapshot and you can compare and contrast. So against the different clients or business units. But the trending analysis is really going to show you like, okay, we're starting to see an increase in reporting of like critical vulnerabilities. Who are the culprits of that, and how do we dig in to find out what's going on there? So I would say the entire analytics dashboard is really good from the CISO perspective, but really getting that trending analysis is vital.
Yeah. All right. So one of the things I've had some people asking, like how they can get in contact with you, but I'll throw this. If you could go into the chat, or sorry, the questions in GoToWebinar and just type in PlexTrac and questions, we will get you set up with Daniel, and then they can kind of give you a full demo and get you a walkthrough. So just type in PlexTrac and questions, so that way you don't have to share it out on you don't have to share it out on like anything that everyone can see.
Yeah.
Just your questions so we can see it directly. So if people did want to set up a demo with you, what's the best way for them to actually go through and talk to you a little bit more about it?
Yeah, so I mean, you can request a demo from our website at plextrac.com/demo. Just fill it in, and we'll get a time set up. And that includes a trial. So I mean, if you want, if you like what you see, there's a lot of packed functionality. We really are geared from the practitioner's perspective of being able to, someone said in the Discord channel earlier, like that report as you go functionality. And that's really what our concept is like, you can put findings in published or draft status. So as soon as you think it's ready for the customer, you can publish it right away so they can come in and start working on it while the rest of your report is still hidden. So a lot of the things that we feel and we've seen over an engagement lifecycle really save time and make everybody more efficient. But anyway, sorry, plextrac.com/demo, or reach out to me directly, Dan@plextrac.com.
Okay, very cool. Now, are there any other
Oh, did I lose John? Are you guys still there?
Yep, no, I think we all lost John again.
Okay. Yeah, we're still here. Johnny froze.
John?
Come
John?
back. Come back.
Uh-oh.
That's all right.
It shows he's talking.
Does your tool have Jira integration?
It does. So we've got this whole, Jira cloud integration where you can sync it with your Jira cloud instance, and then when you're back in a finding, let's go back to that.
Sorry, my connection dropped. I apologize for that.
Oh yeah, no worries. So like, the nice thing is
drug testing is kicking in now.
Right.
If you can make status updates directly in the platform, but if you have the Jira integration, you have a little button here that creates a ticket in Jira, and the comments and status sync back. So as it closes out in Jira, it closes out in PlexTrac. And this is what updates in real time for the analytics dashboard, which is what's nice from a CISO perspective, is like CISO doesn't have to go grab analytics from multiple spots. They just know that if it's being updated here, what they see is in real time.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to hand it over to questions from people on Discord. So would you all throw out some questions that you have? See if anybody has anything of those. New authentication. Everyone's ripping on me losing connectivity.
It's
Yeah,
South Dakota. What do you want?
I got a question from J Rich on Discord asking, do you think it could replace Simple Risk?
Simple Risk. I guess I'm not familiar with that. What is Simple Risk? Do you guys know?
I don't
Or-
know.
You can Google it. There you go.
Shit.
Oh, it's like a
kind of like a open source risk management tool. Yeah, I mean, we have a lot geared. We position this as part of that living risk register for the blue team, right? So, we have an assessments module where you can take questionnaire-based assessments as well. So for those GRC folks, like we just put in some CMMC stuff. Basically the goal is to have everything kind of related to what you need to be prioritizing at the highest level, to make sure that we're moving the needle forward, both from a, primarily from a security perspective, but then, my mission is always that you have a good security program, a diligent security program. The compliance comes as a byproduct of that, right?
Yeah. So as far as output options, can you also output the results in like CSV as well?
Yes, let me go back to that report. So these are the export options. You can do your custom Word template. We can export to Markdown, CSV, and then our own format. So like in the concept of like you have your own isolated private instance that you're not exposing. One of your customers is also a PlexTrac user. You can export in PlexTrac format and import that report into their instance.
Okay, very cool. Go back to see if there's more questions. Marcello, CJ, are you all getting any more questions?
Nothing much.
Yeah, here we go. For instance, C levels and C types want PDF Word doc with executive summary. However, the ops team wants something that speaks to them, and the finding the remediation is going to be different between the two. So can you speak on how export works to provide this data to multiple different groups and levels?
Yeah, that's the beauty of having kind of like multiple templates, right? So you can have multiple templates and multiple document export templates. So whatever you're going to be exporting, say you just create an executive summary template in a Word doc, and then you say, you know, this one's for engineering, this one's for application dev, right? So you can have multiple templates and export the same report into one of those templates, and then you can deliver it to your audience that way. Or even store it as an artifact, you know, because this is like a living thing, which is a mission, you know, was another reason I did this, is that I hated delivering a report and then 6 months later it's kind of dead, right? I mean, there's you know, like a lot has potentially changed. This is ongoing, right? And so you can store the original one as an artifact over, you know, this is what it looked like originally, and then now you can see what it looks like today, right?
Very cool. So Florian asked, would PlexTrac also integrate with on-prem Jira as well?
We can do that, yeah. So it's more of like understanding what the API version is that we integrate with. So yeah, that's a possibility.
Cool. And then Guy was asking, is there a way to assign remediation steps to each role?
I guess you mean
So,
aside from.
Yeah, like specific. So whenever you're looking at, like, let's talk about remediation steps. There are certain remediation steps, and I'm just guessing to his question, that can only be addressed by the network team, like making firewall rule changes. And there are some remediations that can only be done by the desktop support team. So I know that you could probably give the findings and you could assign them, but can you say that this specific remediation step is exclusive to this role and other people that always get it? I think I'm paraphrasing that question correctly.
Yeah, I think, you know, in some instances, in some respects, yes, in some respects, no, right? So, I mean, you can assign a specific asset at the asset level to different users, you know, as opposed to the overall finding to a maybe like a group, right? So you can, you know, you can have a specific asset assigned to a user. We are in the process of getting more group-oriented type things where, you know, if it's assigned to this group, you know, somebody in this group is going to be responsible for fixing it.
Yeah, very cool. Got some more questions coming through. Yeah, I think I got that one right. So basically, Guy was saying network people close X number of items, firewalls complete 30% of their tasks. So you can see how the remediation is going by group as well. And that's kind of a key point. I know you're getting into some kind of weird areas, but whenever you're looking at, let's just say, an organization that has offices in New York City and in Houston and in Los Angeles, and you can say, well, this group is actually closing out tickets, you know, much faster than any of the other groups. Sometimes that can be used as leverage. And I think one of your earlier graphs showed that between the time between initial vulnerability and then closure. I think you can track that information just from what I've seen already.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're using this at the enterprise level, what our enterprise customers do is they actually break those groups into different clients. You know, so a client might be the Denver office or the network team, and then you can compare and contrast, you know, through the trending and analysis, you know, what departments are doing well and what departments aren't, right? You know, and so that's how.
And it's horrible that you got to do that, but that's an incredibly powerful tool. If you have one group, and I always recommend this for working with companies that are multinational, and you have like a CISO, I say, well, work with the group you work the best with. Get things addressed with that group and get things going at a good cadence. And then you can basically start rolling it out to the rest of the groups internationally. And you can constantly point and say, well, the people in Ohio and Scranton, wow, they do a really, really good job. So maybe you can work with them or figure out what they're doing. Sometimes that helps quite a bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Hey, Daniel, do you guys do CSS or are you doing CCE, common enumerations and all that scoring?
Yeah, so we have we do, you know, like we will bring in all the scores that come in from a scanner, and then, you know, we support CVSS and CVS3, and then just this generic score, right? So that you can put in whatever you want, and you can customize this and templatize it out, right? So one thing I guess I didn't show is like if you say you have a bunch of like MITRE attack techniques that you consistently test against, right? You can just, you know, you can just select a bunch that you want to bring into the report. This is all, the verbiage is already there. And then it brings these in. Notice it brings them in a draft status because that's our default. But then, you know, this is just taken from the Atomic Red Team, right? I mean, that's where this is from. But, you know, you can bring in whatever you want. And so whatever scores you want to associate with that out of the box, you can.
So this gets into the kind of bingo card thing that Bryson talks about, but I think it does work for gap analysis. Do you actually have the full MITRE attack coverage with the techniques where it shows the actual matrix with what is currently outstanding issues?
Great question. Not yet. So we have this Runbooks. We have a Runbooks module that's in development right now. I like to tease it, but you know, it's the next step, right? It's not every activity is a finding, you know, and like what you were showing in Blue Spawn, with, you know, had my juices flowing because like, oh yes, this is what, you know, this is what is going to go into our Runbook stuff, right?
Dude, I saw that, and whenever I first saw that, I was like, holy crap! I want to know what they're doing in the background.
Yeah.
But yeah, it looks like they're using Attack Navigator, and then they're just doing color codes. But the way it integrated and the way it was so clean was so cool. But I hate to play that bingo card game, but I think it's
an
still
illusion.
Well, it is an illusion, but I think it's a useful illusion, right? If you're sitting here talking to management, and you're like, here's our coverage. It's not just a bunch of findings, it's literally that mapping. So
yeah, and one thing that we do highlight in our analytics section is that you can tag things based on those attack techniques, right? And start to get like, okay, or maybe the major one, right? So like the different tactics, and start to see like, I may not have many findings here that are associated with that, but like, you know, start to be able to compare and contrast, like for lateral movement, you know, how many findings have been identified in lateral movement, and who are the culprits, right? And so the ability to slice and dice that data is really valuable. Yeah, so we got too much data in there.
I just hate confusing the map with the terrain.
Yeah,
true.
Yeah, and I think that's it's interesting because there are a lot of overlapping techniques within the different, and just because I was able to execute something in the Privesc, you know, module or tactic, I'm sorry, doesn't mean that I was able to get there first, right? And so
it's complex. It's
tricky. Yeah.
Yeah, and now we're getting a bunch of questions like, do you map to PCI DSS, NIST, CIS, top 20, OWASP, ISO 2700, GRC mandates? And I think honestly, if you're going to that point, I know Gaia is putting a lot of it in, and Michael was talking about compliance and audit. I'd recommend looking at audit scripts and those Excel spreadsheets that we've shared in the past. But if you go to auditscripts.com and then their critical control spreadsheets, they actually have a master mapping. And what I've had to do in the past is I've had to go through our pen test reports and then pull the master mapping and cross-reference it there. Unfortunately, that was a manual task.
Yeah, and we support, like, you can build your own questionnaires based on a framework. We have some of the basic, you know, from the different organizations like PCI. We just incorporated CMMC because that's a hot one right now. You know, but yeah, I mean, the mapping of the different controls is kind of a different beast, but that's where the tagging in PlexTrac can really come into play. Like every finding that is associated with a framework gets tagged, and so then that can serve as your mapping from the different controls.
Sean's asking for things like, you have the playbook kind of thing for OWASP, say?
That's coming like in the runbooks as well, right? So like where you can list the methodologies. When you're creating a report, you can, let's just say, you know, a new report, you can select which methodology you are using, one or more, right? So, you know, but this is just metadata at this point. The runbooks is where it'll have the specific checklist. You can create an assessment today that is the checklist of all the things in that OWASP methodology or something like that. But runbooks will be a better fit for that.
All right, to wrap up, Daniel, any final words for today?
No, just, love the educational component that, you guys put on. I mean, this is, part of our heart is dear to our hearts about just moving the needle forward and making sure that we're getting the work done, right? And eliminating as much waste in that process as we can, because we're all short on time. Everybody's short on security talent. And so how do we make their lives as easy as possible and boost their morale, right? I mean, make reporting suck less, makes you feel a little bit better about getting to the end of an engagement, right? So that's our mission, and I just appreciate you guys having me on.
All right,
Absolutely.
fantastic. Well, once again, we want to say thank you very much for sponsoring Wild West Hackin Fest. And I know we got another one coming up, so I'm sure that you'll have some cool stuff for us next time we get together and do this again. All right.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
All right, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Woo! Thanks again, everyone. Later.
And if you do need a pen test, you know where to find us.
Yep.
Bye.
Oh yeah, that. Yeah, we do pen tests, everybody.
Ah, shoot.
Later.
All right, I am ending